It began with tire tracks, not a storm, not a fire, just faint lines etched across my front lawn. At first, I chalked it up to a clumsy delivery driver, maybe an Amazon truck botching a three-point turn. But the tracks kept appearing, every morning for 2 weeks, slicing through the damp grass near my mailbox with surgical precision. This wasn't random, it was deliberate, personal, and relentless. I bought a cheap security camera, the kind peddled in late-night YouTube ads, and that $39 turned out to be my best investment. The footage showed a silver Audi SUV carving across my lawn like it was auditioning for a rally race, license plate and driver's face crystal clear. Behind the wheel was Diane. Not her real name, but the perfect fit, bleached blonde hair, oversized sunglasses, and a scowl that screamed she was perpetually annoyed by your existence. She lived 2 houses down, her driveway too tight to reverse out of, she claimed, so she used my lawn as her personal turnaround, speeding off to whatever soulless yoga studio she haunted downtown. I confronted her one morning, keeping it civil. "Hey, I think you've been driving over my lawn. That's private property." She didn't flinch. "It's just grass. Don't be so dramatic," she said, then smirked. "Maybe if your lawn looked better, I wouldn't need to." I swallowed a laugh, my jaw tightening, and said nothing. What do you say to that kind of smug? She didn't apologize, didn't promise to stop, just reversed her SUV and rolled over my sod again, tires cutting a U-shaped scar like a blade through dough. 2 days later, she upped the ante, filing an HOA complaint against me for unmaintained property obstructing vehicle turnaround. Yes, that's a direct quote. She claimed my lawn was a mobility hazard, dragging down the neighborhood's aesthetic standards. I scoured the HOA bylaws, nothing about lawns being too soft for luxury SUVs. But Diane had friends on the board, a clique of petty despots who bonded over mimosas and microaggressions. A letter arrived: fix the lawn or face fines. It was absurd, her damage, my punishment. I called the HOA president, Greg, a man who looked like he was born in khakis. "Maybe pave that corner for community ease," he suggested. "It's my lawn, not a public road," I shot back. He chuckled. "Technically, anything within 10 feet of the curb is HOA evaluable." I wanted to scream, but went silent, the kind of quiet where fairness fades and strategy takes over. Diane had tipped the first domino, and she was about to learn I play chess, not checkers. I left the ruts untouched, a crime scene outline in grass, and waited. Diane wasn't done, and I was right. 4 days later, another HOA notice hit. $175 fine for failure to address lawn maintenance. This wasn't about grass, Anna Marie, it was power. Diane wasn't just driving over my lawn. She was trampling every shred of neighborly decency. I appealed the fine, attaching video of her Audi tearing through my yard like it was the Indy 500. The response: video evidence inadmissible due to privacy concerns. Translation: Diane had the board wrapped around her finger. A board member, Ellen, who wore pearls to take out the trash, sent me a letter urging neighborly cooperation. I dubbed them the Coven. Diane, Greg, and Ellen, the HOA's suburban inquisition. Meanwhile, Diane got bolder, her tires digging deeper, crushing a sprinkler head, snapping a solar light. The cherry on top? She started waving as she drove over, smiling like she was in a parade. One morning, she tossed a coffee cup onto my porch, not the lawn, the porch. This was control, not convenience, a demand for submission. When I didn't bend, she escalated. The next HOA meeting, which I wasn't invited to, listed my name on the agenda: landscaping hostility and neighborly cooperation violation. I crashed it anyway. Diane sat at the table like a discount dictator, Greg shuffling papers nervously. "Mr. Carter," she began, fake reading notes, "your behavior is unfriendly. Residents have complained." "Before or after they drove over my property?" I asked. She didn't blink. "You're creating tension. We're a community. We thrive on trust, not tactics." The gaslighting was so polished it deserved a wine pairing. Ellen chimed in. "The HOA can't be weaponized for grudges." Greg suggested I install low-profile concrete edging to stop vehicular encroachment. That's what they called it, like Diane was a lost Roomba, not a 50-year-old narcissist. I pointed out her state trespassing violations. Diane cut in. "Let's not get litigious, it won't look good." I left with nothing resolved but one truth. I was the HOA's public enemy #1. That night, an anonymous note appeared on my porch. We don't like snitches. The next morning, someone dumped grass clippings by my door, as if caring about my lawn was the real crime. Diane, emboldened, turned my yard into her sandbox, idling, spinning, flinging mud like a frat party. One evening, I caught her doing a three-point turn, grinning. "Pave it," she said, peeling out. Something in me clicked, a spring loaded. No more diplomacy, no more HOA games. If Diane wanted to play dirty, I'd redraw the board sharp, subtle, and legal. I wasn't out to hurt Diane, just stop her. That distinction mattered. Dealing with her meant being smarter, patient. I Googled legal lawn deterrents for trespassing vehicles and stumbled into a world of suburban warfare motion sensors, noisemakers, even retractable driveway spikes. Most were too pricey or illegal, but I had an ace. My Uncle Ray, a retired civil engineer with a conspiracy theorist flair. "She's using your lawn as her racetrack?" he said over coffee in my garage, grinning like he'd found a deal on TNT. "Let's make it bumpy." We spent 3 nights burying plastic speed bumps under the sod, the kind used on off-road trails, blunt but brutal on alignment, secured with turf staples and disguised as aeration work. I scattered aeration tools around for plausible deniability ways, keep your alibi lawn deep. For 48 hours, I watched. Nothing. Then, on day 3, a glorious thunk echoed, followed by an angry rev. Diane's Audi lurched like it hit a wall. She slammed the brakes, rolled down her window, and yelled, "What's wrong with your yard?" I shrugged from my porch. "Just aerated. Gotta keep the soil healthy." She stormed toward me, heels sinking into the grass. "You're tampering with HOA-controlled curb frontage. That's an infraction." I pulled a laminated HOA bylaw from a folder. Page 9, subsection 3C. Homeowners are encouraged to maintain drainage and turf integrity with approved methods. It smelled of fresh ink and payback. She didn't read it, just hissed, "You think you're clever?" "No." I smiled. "I am clever. You just didn't notice until your tires did." Her face flickered uncertainty, a chip in her armor. She stomped back, reversed, and her undercarriage scraped the bumps. Music. That night, she filed another complaint. Improper landscaping elevation creating vehicular hazard. Greg emailed a warning to level my yard. I replied with my aeration plan, soil data, and a surveyor's diagram, CCing Ellen and the city zoning office. They backed off. I'd played their game and won. Diane kept hitting the bumps, her suspension groaning like a wounded appliance. Her bumper got scuffed, and she started swerving wider, until she clipped my mailbox a federal offense. I didn't call the cops. I installed a reinforced, earthquake-proof mailbox. She glared at it, radiating fury, but she was cracking, hesitating, squinting at my lawn like it might bite. It was working, but I wasn't done. She hadn't learned boundaries, and if she thought the HOA would shield her forever, she was in for a shock. I thought I had Diane pegged: ego, control, suburban pettiness. But I'd underestimated her. Curiosity got me wondering why she was so fixated on my lawn, even as it trashed her car. One morning, I followed her, keeping it subtle, trailing at a distance. I expected a trip to a boutique or Pilates class, but she drove to a rundown duplex 2 blocks away. A scruffy guy in a hoodie met her at the driveway. She stayed in her car, handed him a small bag, not groceries, and peeled out. She stopped at a park, tossed the bag in a trash can, and went home. Something was off. I dug through the trash gross. I know and found a drawstring bag, pharmacy label ripped off, reeking of burnt foil and chemicals. My gut sank. This wasn't HOA nonsense. Diane was running something shady, and my lawn was her blind spot, dodging neighbors' Ring cameras. I installed 2 trail cams, hidden in fake rocks, and caught her making the same drop-off 4 times in a week, always to the same house, always fast. County records showed the place belonged to a guy named Kyle Webb, no job, 2 arrests for drug possession with intent. It clicked. Diane's shortcut wasn't laziness, it was cover. The HOA was her smokescreen, her ego a mask. I called a cop friend, not for a bust, but to corner her. "I think my neighbor's trafficking. I've got video." No raid, just presence. Within 48 hours, a cruiser parked on our street during her usual run. She saw it, turned around in her own driveway, and skipped the drop. The message landed, but others were watching now. I sent the HOA an anonymous email with clips of her Audi on my lawn and trail, cam footage labeled possible illicit activity. Greg accidentally replied all, writing, "This could implicate the association if it goes public." They'd been shielding her, maybe unknowingly, but now they were exposed. I laminated that email, tucking it into my growing HOA binder. Diane stopped waving. Her SUV slowed, and she avoided my lawn, but it was too late. Her secrecy was unraveling, and I was holding the thread. Diane didn't fold, she fought back, scorched earth style. 2 days after the cruiser, a red tag appeared on my door. Zoning compliance check, exterior structure in question. I hadn't built anything. The city inspector took one look at my unchanged fence and said, "Some neighbors got too much time." Hours later, an HOA rep claimed I'd been running machinery at 1A.M. an anonymous complaint. I showed my porch cam silent footage. "Want a copy?" I asked. She stammered, "We'll close this, but don't let it happen again." The next day, Diane went nuclear, plastering mailboxes with yellow flyers. "Is our neighborhood safe?" They listed lawn hazards and covert surveillance, urging residents to report to the HOA. It didn't name me, but it didn't need to. I confronted her while she trimmed a dead shrub. "You're spiraling," I said. She didn't blink. "I'm protecting the neighborhood from you." She dropped her clippers. "You're obsessive, aggressive, and trespassing right now." I stepped back. "Trespassing? That's rich." She smiled. "Enjoy your next fine." It came 48 hours later. Lawn obstruction for my dad's old army flag. I appealed with a photo of Diane's giant Halloween bat blocking her porch. The HOA ignored me, scheduling a community compliance audit code for targeted harassment. The board paraded past my house, clipboards in hand. Then my trash bin was tipped, my mail torn, my truck keyed. No proof, but Diane's fingerprints were everywhere. She didn't see the tide turning. The Wilsons, retirees across the street, told me she's done this to others. A single mom said Diane fined her for a porch stroller. Neighbors peeled away from her, and I sent a report to the state HOA regulator, mails, photos, videos, affidavits from 5 residents. This wasn't lawn wars, it was legal warfare, and Diane had brought a pin to a sword fight. I hired Marcus Tate, a former HOA board member turned property rights lawyer. He devoured my binder. She's toast malicious interference, false reporting, harassment, even a First Amendment flag violation. We filed a $10,000 small claims suit for damages, defamation, and distress, plus a cease and desist letter to Greg, Ellen, and Diane for coordinated harassment. Greg emailed, "We regret your stress. We're fair." Marcus replied, "Weak sauce." The HOA's next meeting listed board conduct review. Diane was rattled, parking in her garage, avoiding eye contact. 2 days before court, Greg called, mumbling about mediation. "I offered peace," I said. She drove over it. He hung up. In court, Diane wore sunglasses and a neck bracelet, a cheap sympathy ploy. Marcus whispered, "Judges hate that." We presented our case. Footage, emails, receipts. Diane called my bumps booby traps. Marcus countered with their safety certification. The judge read her flyer and asked, "This targets one resident?" Diane stammered, "It's general." The judge eyed the 6 neighbors in the gallery. Only one lawn was audited, one flag called clutter. When he saw Greg's email about implicating the association, he paused. "Does your board protect criminal behavior for appearances?" Diane sweated, Greg shrank, Ellen looked away. We won $6,800 for damages and fees, and the judge ordered an HOA audit, warning of further scrutiny for retaliation. The next day, an HOA email announced Diane's resignation as treasurer. Her wine and gossip crew ghosted her, and a new rule, the Carter Amendment, required dual signatures for fines. Diane tried to fade into normalcy, but the lawsuit was public. Mrs. Larson, a widow, posted online. "Anyone else fined for porch decor?" 17 replies listed Diane's vendettas, gnomes, wreaths, a memorial plaque. A neighbor, Sarah, revealed Diane fined her for a planter Diane gifted her. The thread exploded. A whistleblower, new board member Tim, leaked spreadsheets. Diane pocketed $400 of $2,000 in unverified fines for HOA expenses. Someone taped it to the HOA kiosk with, "Where's the money, Diane?" scrawled in marker. She started walking her dog at dawn, hoodie up, sunglasses on. Then I learned why she needed my lawn. My trail cams caught her dropping bags at Kyle Webb's house. A teen's TikTok, "My HOA Diane's doing crimes," went viral with blurred clips. Local news sniffed around. I stayed quiet, others talked. The Diane Files thread cataloged her petty tyranny. Her social circle collapsed. The PDA cut her from fundraising. Kyle's arrest for drug distribution, with Diane's plate on his visitor log, tanked her reputation. Her husband listed their house. It pulled after 6 days. Rumor was he learned about her lies and left. A note from Greg read, "Quarterly audits moving forward." Diane wasn't done, though. She forged an HOA letter, citing retaliatory landscaping aggression, signed with Greg's initials after he'd resigned. Marcus confirmed it was criminal fraud. Then she dug up my lawn, caught on camera with a trowel and bucket. Police found her ankle deep in my sod, claiming it was invasive and threatened her alignment. I didn't press charges, just got a restraining order, keeping her 10 feet from my lawn. At the spring stroll, her yard was snubbed, mine celebrated, with rock beds and a motion-activated horn on the old tire tracks. Diane triggered it, fetching her mail, flinching as I waved with a lawn and order mug. Her last gasp, a city complained about my harassment sound system flopped. The inspector grinned, creative. An audit uncovered $2,300 in Diane's personal reimbursements, Etsy napkins, cousins' restaurant lunches, even her Audi's suspension repair from my bumps. She was banned citywide, her name an ethics clause. Sarah and others sued her for malicious fines. Her house relisted at a loss, buyers spooked by her infamy. A news article, "Suburbia's HOA Inferno," sealed her fate. Her car was repossessed. TikTok captioned it, "Diane's ride falls." She vanished, posting online, "I'm relocating for peace." Comments were brutal, a lawnmower gif, a "don't forget your tires." She left tire marks on her own lawn, a final cell phone. A thank you card arrived. "You saved the street." For a week, the silence was eerie, like the neighborhood held its breath. Diane's house sat empty, weeds choking her lawn, her "for sale" sign fading. Then a young couple, Leo and Mia, moved in with a toddler and a scruffy dog. They waved, asked questions, didn't dictate. "Is the HOA as nuts as Zillow says?" Leo asked. I handed him a flash drive. "Your survival guide." He laughed at my PowerPoint me war journal. They got the moldy gnome rule repealed, installed a locked mailbox, and hosted a block party. The Wilsons brought iced tea, Sarah grilled, a retiree jazz band played. Kids ran barefoot on my healed lawn, no tracks in sight. "The Spikes?" someone asked. "Retired," I said. Leo joked about renaming the street Green Haven. The city inspector said, "This block's never been calmer." Diane's name became a warning. That's a bit Diane. Her house sold to a landscape architect who tore out her sterile shrubs, planting a bee-friendly garden the HOA named Halverson Hollow to mock her legacy. I dismantled the cams and horn, walking my lawn with pride. Diane thought she ruled us, but people remember who stood up. She tried to pave us with fear. We grew community, justice, and a damn fine lawn HOA approval needed.